Hello, and welcome to the We Get to Do This podcast. My name is Kailee.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are your co-hosts.
In this show, we're going to dive into all things our lives, from our partnership to romance to entrepreneurship to growing our businesses together, our fitness journeys, and we're going to have a ton of different guests on that relate to what I just said in some way. We're hoping you enjoy the show, and if you do,
please feel free to follow us, leave us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcasts, and enjoy.
And if you don't like the show, tough. Thank you.
Thanks.
As Grace said, I'm Kailee. I work out of a performance running gym in St. Louis Heart, and I've gotten to make my passion for running into a career. And now it's brought me to awesome places like this and working with all of you as like my ideal people to work with. Something that I'm very passionate about that actually brought me into holistic health and acupuncture is preventative medicine. So what we're going to be talking about today is injuries are, yes, not always preventable, but there are so many things that we can do to prevent them or to the best of our ability. And I started out working as a nurse in the hospital systems and just noticed there's a huge lack of how do we prevent people from getting to the hospital in the first place? How do we prevent these surgeries? And if you need the surgery or if you get injured or sick, how do you prevent that from happening again in the future? And I just noticed there's a huge lack of that. And I'm very passionate about the education side of it and talking to people about how can we prevent this from continuing to reoccur. So that brought me back to grad school because with acupuncture and Chinese medicine, I get to look at who you are as an entire individual. And not just like I worked on an orthopedic floor for a while. And it was you're coming in for your knee surgery or your shoulder surgery, and we're only looking at that part of your body. And I believe and know to be true that we are all human. There's the mental side of it, there's a physical side of it. And so I get to work with all of that. So we will get into it because as runners, you have most likely been injured. And I like who has been injured in the last year or two, say. Okay, so sorry to say none of you are special when you fit into the statistic. About 50 to 80% of runners get injured every year. And most of us are going to have some type of injury over our lifetime, which makes it a very pertinent topic because of how common it is. And women also have extra unique needs because, as Sarah was saying yesterday, and as we've had multiple speakers say, women are not just small men. We have hormones, we go through menopause, we go through puberty, we have different body structures. We oftentimes are the caregivers for our families. Lots of different roles that all add up to potentially having our bodies break down. And running in general, as Elena also talked about, like that is all stress on our bodies. Like when we run, we are breaking down our bodies. But there's a lot of ways that we can prevent. So as I said here, many injuries are preventable, not all. Nothing is wrong with you if and when you get injured. Just like I say, when you get sick, that does not mean you're a bad person. Like sometimes you can do all the right things and it just happens. That is life. But I'd like to talk today about the things that we can do and things that it can be within our control and that will change your life. So the injury cycle. Oftentimes what I see with people that are coming into my treatment room is people who have done too much, too soon, and without enough recovery. A lot of the things I've talked about with like preventing injury kind of go hand in hand with recovery. Runners, like for lack of better words, like suck at recovery. Who prioritizes recovery days? Like, is that something that we do? Like, so I hear all the time in clinic, like people are like, "Oh yeah, I take recovery days." I'm like, "Okay, tell me about your Sunday recovery day this week." Well, I biked 40 miles, or I hiked 10. Like, not quite a recovery day. We have different versions of recovery days. As endurance athletes, a lot of us like to be go, go, go. And that's what I see all the time is like the type A personalities of I need to be moving all the time. I need to be going. I have a very hard time sitting. I can't sit on a couch. Even if I am watching a show, I need to be doing chores and doing stuff at the same time. That's me as well. So I'm not trying to call anyone out here, but that's something that I see all the time. And oftentimes when you get into training blocks, say you're training for a marathon, oftentimes it's to start to decrease that mileage. The first thing that goes is your recovery time and all the injury things that we're going to be talking about today. And if you have children, a family, a full-time job, like it's understandable. Like we have 24 hours in a day. We have the same 24 hours. And it can be hard to fit in all of these things that we're talking about. So again, it doesn't mean like there's no perfect way to do any of the things I'm talking about or to prevent injuries and to recover. I think it's very important, like as you go throughout your life, like what works for you. And I'll be talking about some things that I do too. And like as you're going through this too, a lot of times it will start like your injuries will start out with kind of like a nagging thing that starts with maybe like a little bit of like lateral knee pain. You're like, but I need to get my 5 miles in today, or I need to get my long run in. And I'm sure it will go away. It'll be fine. And then it lasts 2 days and it lasts 3 days. And I see the mental side of it all the time where people tell me like, Kailee, like I have to run for my mental health. I have to do that to stay sane. And again, like I'm also like this and I've been there. But once those small things start to creep up and stay, that is your body telling you like, hey, I need you to slow down. Maybe you need to take a day off. Maybe it needs to be 2 days. Maybe it needs to be 3 days. I hate being the one to have to tell people like, you might need to rest, but sometimes it does have to come to that. And, I hear a lot of practitioners that will say like, I will help you like continue to run through this and you don't have to take any days off. And yes, sometimes there is that. And I'm all for continuing to train and to take strength training, but literally sometimes it just comes down to taking 3 days off or a week off. And again, nobody wants to do that. Like I said, I get told all the time about how people have to be moving for their mental health. But that's a sign right there that maybe we should think about that. Like, why do you always have to be moving? Like, are we running away from something? What's going on at home? Like, again, like we are full humans. And I think sometimes like that's a sign to look deeper. And again, that's why I'm very grateful for what I do, because it's not just reading the physical side, it's reading you as an entire person. The body whispers before it screams, like those little things, usually, unless you're like big fall or you step on a curb and roll an ankle, like usually you kind of know the progression of what it took to actually like get you out of running. And also like with a lot of times you can even correlate like back to like, say it was a hip injury. Like a lot of times you can tell like if there is a stressful event in your life, like all of a sudden you are taking care of a family member or you change jobs or you hate your job or you get a new boss or you have children, like all those life events can then add up to different injuries. And that's why I think it's just very important to be listening to our bodies always. And because we change throughout life, like this is not a linear thing, but we always need to be listening. And one of my passions is helping people like come back to their bodies and just get to like know your body. Like the things I ask in acupuncture, like I'm asking about your digestive health. I'm asking about your sleep. I'm asking about your recovery. I'm asking about your pain. I'm asking about your mental health. And that really helps me get a full picture of who you are. And a lot of people like the questions that I ask, not that they're that hard, but it's just a lot of things we've never even thought about before. So in the first treatment, I'll have people that are like, I've never thought about if I have ringing in my ears before, or I've never thought about how much I'm drinking a day or how much I urinate through my bowel movements. But then they'll come back the next week, be like, you know how you asked me about this? You're like, the floaters in my eyes? Like, actually, I have those every single day, but I didn't notice them because we're just, in our culture, we're just very out of tune with our bodies. And you move fast. Again, we're athletes, we move, and have a lot of responsibilities. And I just think it's very important to be aware of these changes so that when they do happen, and when it's at first just like a small thing, we can prevent it from becoming that big thing that it does take you out of the game. I'm somebody who likes to run myself to the ground about every 6 months or so. And then I need to sleep and rest for like 24 hours. My body is like, Kailee, we're done. Like, no more. And I get sick for like 24 hours. And then I get better and I walk away, trying to get better at that. So I do need to get to practice what I preach, but I see a lot of that as we run ourselves to the ground because we think that we are superhuman, which you are all women. We are superhuman. You are incredible, but we do also have limits, unfortunately. So, okay. So I get asked a lot about what my recovery and injury strategies are. So this is a lot. I always tell people, like, do one thing consistently for a while. Once you've mastered that, then you can move on to the next thing. Just yesterday, actually, on my way up here, I was stopping to pick up a gift from a friend of a friend. And he's a big climber, and he knows that I run. And he was like, how do you keep your body from just not breaking down all the time and just always being injured? My passion in running is ultras. So I do a lot of long distance things. So again, my body is breaking down all the time, like all of us. And I got to list out a few of these things to him. And because I know this individual, and a lot of people have waited until, again, something is already an issue. And then they go to the PT, and then they do the rehab, and then they're like, oh yeah, strength training is important. But these are all things you can be doing like right now, starting today, to prevent stuff from happening. And we've already heard about strength training. We've heard about gear. We've heard about nutrition. Like, all of those things are basically recovery and injury prevention strategies. So I'm not going to go super deep into all of those, but nutrition, as Julie talked about yesterday, like, is so vital. Like, we need to be eating enough or our bodies will break down. Your bones will break down, your brain will break down. And I cannot stress how important it is to eat enough. And as she said, like, once you are eating enough, that's when we can start building off of that and focusing more on like whole foods and finding out what works best for your body. I say warm just because in Chinese medicine, we're very big on warm foods and drinks. If you're putting cold things into your body, you have something called the digestive fire. If you're putting cold drinks, cold foods into your stomach, your digestive system will slow down, which can then result in even like menstrual changes. So if you are somebody that gets a lot of menstrual cramps, if you get a lot of bloating, it sounds very simple, but if you start to doing like room temp to warm drinks and foods, some people's lives have like truly changed just from that. Like, not even me like touching them with needles, but just that. But they're like, my bloating has gone away. My cramping has gone away. We want our digestive system to be flowing, to be moving. And it's just much easier for our bodies to absorb food and liquids if it's more of that warm temperature. So if you go to Asia, they're very big in teas. My sister was in Taiwan, and they actually asked her if she was getting ice cream, and they asked I think they asked her like if she was on her cycle, because they like, you don't do that if you are on your menstrual cycle. So that's a huge pro tip for me. Sleep. You all know sleep is important. It's a lot of these things, not all of them, but a lot of it, we know this stuff. It's not, we don't need to make it that complicated. Coach Bennett, who's the Nike head coach, always said, like, running's not complicated, runners are complicated. And I just think it's so true. Like, we overcomplicate everything. And if you're eating enough, you're sleeping enough, you're taking recovery days, if you have a strong mindset, like that's a lot of it. Yeah, and everything else I just think is extra. But yeah, so runners just sleep fewer than 7 hours per night have a nearly 2 times higher risk of injury. Again, if you have children, if you have an infant at home, like there's so many different life things that might prevent you from doing this. So if you're getting less than 8, it does not mean that you're going to get injured and that's the end of the world. It's just in an ideal world, 8+ hours. And 8's kind of the number we've just thrown out, but everyone has different needs. That's kind of like a good baseline to think about because while you're sleeping, that's when your body is recovering. If you're not sleeping, it's very hard to recover. If you have a Garmin or any kind of like smartwatch, it'll give you like sleep scores. And if you're not sleeping, usually like your readiness for training will go down. Again, let's not get caught up in the technology, but there is something to say about that. So if you're going like a long time without getting any sleep, like maybe that's a time to pull back a little bit. Daily hydration and electrolytes. So again, just making sure you're staying hydrated, making sure you're having enough electrolytes, especially when it's super humid out, like it has been basically all summer, making sure you're doing, and there's there's so many different things. I like starting my day off with a glass of room temp lemon water, sprinkle some sea salt in there. It's a great way to start the digestive system for the day. If you're somebody like a teacher or something who's on your feet all day and not near water, like that's a very good first thing to be like, I got my water in. Now, like I'm already starting the day off. I'm foot, I'm hydrated. I highly recommend doing that before coffee, just because after you come off of sleeping, you're dehydrated. If you can start with some lemon water before putting something like coffee, which is very dehydrating in your body, like will notice a difference. And with the lemon, I literally just do like some lemon juice, the things from Costco. Doesn't need to be like a fresh squeezed thing. Like, we're trying to make this like as simple and like doable as possible. Like I want you to actually be able to do these things. Lena already talked about strength training, so I won't go super into that. I'm very fortunate because my fiance actually does strength classes for runners twice a week. That's he checks that box off for me. But actually saying like strength training is such a great way to prevent that breakdown in your body and to prevent injuries. I'm an acupuncturist. Get my own acupuncture, which I get asked about all the time. After, I'll talk a little bit about acupuncture too, but if I'm getting closer to races, like I start doing a little more acupuncture, like leading up to the race. I always try to do like the week before a race to get ready for it, and then the week after for recovery. It will speed up your healing so much faster for after. Before, I use it for getting that mental preparation, again, the injury prevention, and physically getting my body ready to go into that race. That's something that I found to work really well. I have a lot of patients that also utilize that. And yeah, it helps literally your whole body. I also do a massage once a month. I like to see a chiropractor. Again, these are, yes, those 3 things I just talked about. Unfortunately, they do cost money. Strength training can also, but these are just things that I've found valuable. You can check with your insurance about acupuncture and chiropractic. You can also use HSA cards, like their whole savings accounts. There are ways around this. There's community acupuncture. But in my training, I know how important these things are to me. So it is something that I prioritize and that I just think about maybe not spending money on other things. And cycle we're training and tracking. So there's a lot of more talk about this now. And so again, the females specifically, like our hormones obviously change throughout the month. But our joints actually, like the laxity can change throughout the month. So we're actually more, like our joints are actually more lax. I don't know the right word for that. But our joints have like most risk for injury during the ovulation stage. So again, not saying don't do anything, because usually that's the time when you're feeling the best and you want to go run and you want to lift more and you're feeling really good. Your race. But just like being aware of that stuff. And then during your cycle, usually you're feeling a lot more tired, you're feeling heavy, you're a lot more hungry, you want more of those comfort foods. Again, not saying, like, I'm not the person to be like, don't run or don't exercise during those times, because I do. But just be a little more aware, like, okay, maybe if I had like mile repeats that day that I'm, like on my eating day, maybe do a little less mile repeats, a little slower. Like, you can change things. If you have a coach, like, work with your coach. More and more people are starting to talk about that also. And like, actually work with your cycle. It's not as much of like a taboo topic anymore. If your coach doesn't talk about it, maybe you could be the one to start educating them on it. And like, as Sarah talked about yesterday, like, a lot of us we didn't even learn that. Like, I didn't learn anything about my cycle during school. Even during nursing school, I feel like we didn't really touch on it at all. And Chinese medicine are very big on the different cycles of like the bleeding stages. So I feel like not really until then till I started to learn about this stuff. But again, that just comes with like the body awareness, like knowing where we're at in the cycle, our hormones. And so I have a lot of people that, will be trying to do their workout during their bleeding phase. And then just get like super discouraged. They're like, I wasn't hitting my splits, or it wasn't able to complete the workout that I wanted to. And that's when it's like reminding people, like, you were bleeding. Like, I think it's just, we don't talk about this, but like, we're literally bleeding. And then we just like try to like go race and go out and run. And I just think it's important to be aware, like, it's okay to do a little slower, and then just making sure how we need just like a little more recovery time after that. Just make sure you're getting enough sleep, getting enough fuel, getting enough nutrition in, because your needs change throughout the month. Some common injury patterns that I see. So I primarily work with endurance athletes. I see everyone, but a lot of what I see are foot issues, knee and hip issues. I see a lot of stress fractures. Again, hormonal shifts, our joint stability changes, and just our mood and our energy. All that changes throughout the month. So there's like a lot of things that I see and work with. And again, it's usually a result of like overusing them, under recovering, and under fueling. So if you can get these things under control, a lot of times that will result in less injuries for you. And just feeling stronger. Like, it's not even always about injuries. Like, it's just how can I think about how can I make my body as resilient as possible, so that when I do go out and run and I'm breaking my body down, I can I think about how can I be resilient and like as tough as possible. So that when I'm out there for hours on the trail, how can I stay strong without breaking down? I won't go into tips a ton, but I do want to talk about feet a little bit. I think feet are very under talked about. And if you think about it, like, they're literally the base for everything that we do. And it's not like we talk about our glutes, we talk about our core, like we talk about all the other things. But there's over 100 muscles just in your feet. Can't remember how many bones there are, but there's bones too. And we spend so much time in shoes from such a young age. And we just become accustomed to that. Our feet actually like change because of the shoes that we're wearing. So we are going to do a couple little toe exercises. These are all things that you can be doing like at home, when you're on a couch, if you're at your desk at the office. But I'm going to can try to do this with the sock too. But something that a lot of people can't do is start by lifting up your big toe. And then go to your next toes. Slowly lift them up, and then start with your pinky toe, go down again, and then your big toe. If you've never done that before, it's probably going to be really hard, and all of your toes are just going to want to go up. I promise if you do this every day, it will get a lot better. Just that, it's such a good foot strengthening exercise for your body. And you can go the opposite way and bring them down. You can also like fan out your toes and bring them back together. That's a good one. You may have heard of the towel scrunch exercise where you put like a towel under your foot and then you use your toes to like bring it in towards you and then push it out again. That's a great one for strengthening the feet. You may have seen like the toe spacers, a lot of running stores carry those. Kate Stevens.
You don't really know, but I read that. So maybe we should.
Yeah. Should do that. Yeah. Go get some toe spacers with Tate once they carry those. Those are great for recovery because again, like so many of our shoes, like even not even this field, but like running shoes, like squeeze our feet, and that can then result in bunions and just like weaker feet in general. So I encourage using the toe spacer things to help with like the circulation to your toes and helping them so they're not all like getting cramped together. Walking barefoot like every once in a while is good, not just like for physically, but also mind. So if you can sort of grounding, you're like walking barefoot outside is great. If you can end your run and just strides in the grass barefoot, that's another great way to incorporate that. But just spending some time out of shoes will help with things like plantar fasciitis, Achilles issues. So do not neglect your feet. They are very important and you need them to run. Weird, but very important. And then we already talked about these things, but focus on single leg exercises, glutes, calves, all those things will help. And I'm very big for dynamic warm-ups for preventing injuries. I see a lot of people that are in their 50s and 60s but never done any kind of warm-up in their life before running, and now they are suffering the consequences. I'm like, half of the day, I mean, even 3 minutes, just like something to get your body going before you start running will help you tremendously. So talk a lot about like the whole person. It is not just the pain that I treat, it's looking at the root. And as I said before, like a lot of it comes from times of stress or times of change, like when you actually get injured. So I'm very big on regulating the nervous system. In acupuncture, we're not just looking at the physical side, as I said, but we're looking at the nervous system side. So a lot of us live our lives in fight or flight mode or in the sympathetic nervous system. Again, it's that go, go, go. We have to work. We have to take care of children, move a lot. We want to move. And we never really take time to go to the rest and digest side or your parasympathetic nervous system. And acupuncture addresses both. So if you come in with a knee injury, say, I'm not just going to be asking about your knee. I'm going to be asking about all the other things. And if you are stuck in that fight or flight mode and you are concerned because now with your knee, now you can't do your long run this weekend, and now your race is in a month, and now what am I supposed to do? And am I going to be able to run this race? And then you get stuck in these like worrisome thoughts and like these racing thoughts. Well, how like we can't really expect our body to like heal if we're just like stuck up in our heads and like constantly racing minds. We need to, so that's where finding things that regulate your nervous system, like acupuncture, just going for a walk in the woods, like taking time to slow down, and then doing those injury, like your rehab or PT, your body will be able to like absorb or take that in so much easier if your nervous system is regulated. Circulation and fascial health is very important. Again, hormones, public health management. Acupuncture helps with recovery, pain relief, performance boost. And I always tell people like, I get people that come in with panic attacks and they're like, my body just like won't work for me, or my back pain just like won't go away. It keeps coming back. My hip pain, like I've done everything. And like, I just wish I could like cut this leg off or get a new one. And I just think it's important to remember, like, your body is literally always trying to work for you, not against you. And, it does not always seem like that. And you just want to get rid of the body part or whatever is happening. But again, like going back to those signals that you're talking about at the beginning, like your body wants what's best for you. Like your body is literally always trying to heal and repair itself all the time, 24/7. And I think that's just really important to remember. Like, this is the body that you have and that you got, whether you liked it or not at birth. But it is trying to keep you doing the things that you love. And you see, yeah, I mean, it's important because we can, again, that can be such like a huge stressor to be like, well, I want this work for me. And it is trying to work for you. It's just, we're not always listening to it. And then we just try to keep going. So to wrap up, recovery is a part of training. Running is great, but that's not the only thing that we need to be doing. And especially as we age, like I know Sarah talked about yesterday about how a lot of us don't think about, where we want to be at 60, 70, 80. I'm one of those weird people that does think about that all the time. And I really want, like, for myself and for all of you guys, like, I want to be able to be doing this for forever. And she talked about, like, being able to carry a community and boundary waters. Like, that's what I want. And I'm guessing that's what you all want too. It's not about just, like, running ourselves into the ground. Like, so I do think it is important. Like, do you want to be running at 50, 60, 70, 80? Do you want to be hiking? Like, look, do you want to be active for the rest of your life? And if so, you need to be doing all those things and all the things that we talk about this weekend. But I cannot stress how important they are for that longevity piece. We need to do all of it. And that strength and mobility work is non-negotiable. And being able to listen to your body is a competitive advantage, especially as females. Like, if you know your body, like, promise you'll be a better runner, a better athlete, a better partner, a better human. You don't need to actually answer this right now, but just think in your mind, like, what's one change that you can take away this week to reduce your injury risk, or something that you can do that will help to improve your performance, and like thinking about like that longevity piece. So I'll be all people with one thing that you can do. All the other stuff is great, but small, consistent changes are what's actually going to give you the results. So as I said, I do sports and pain acupuncture. I talk a lot about hormones and cycles with people. I love treating women athletes. I do microneedling herbal therapy. I am located in Minnesota, near the Twin Cities, but I do have virtual options. I am working on my run coaching cert. So I want to be able to combine all of these health things with plans and run coaching for people. So I believe it's much more than just a plan. Like, who are you as an entire person? Again, like working with you and your schedule and your individual life. And that's my website, Instagram. I do have a podcast with my fiance, Jacob, who's a personal trainer and run coach. I would love if you would all give a follow. We actually just had John and Kate on a few months ago. So we want to hear their full backstory on Serenity while they were running. We focus on like business and entrepreneurship, fitness and partnership. So kind of like our big pillars. So we got to hear how they started that. We get to talk to a lot of awesome runners. We talk about running all the time, all the things I just talked about today. I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs in this group too. So if you ever want to be on our podcast or want to do that, please let me know. We're constantly looking for people, and all of you fit our exact bill for what we're looking for in the pod. We just hit our 1 year anniversary, so we've been doing it every week for over a year now. Crazy. I'm accepting your patience, and thanks. Here's my mailing list if you want to sign up. But you also all have like I did a postcard thing in your goodie bags. So my information is on there too. And it's a 10% off discount if I do for your first treatment. So if anyone wants to come in, that would be great. Acupuncture, I forgot, I didn't put cupping on there too. But cupping's another really great rehab type practice. So any questions? Yes. Kind of don't even go on with acupuncture. You can never gone. Totally. So like I'm looking at not saying that a lot, but as far as like daunting thinking about like with the needles or like how to find an acupuncturist. No, I think more just like look, I would like to come and see you, but I'm not probably like
wrong.
Yeah.
So then one way just go, well,
Yeah. So that's
I'm just here to.
so when people tell me like, Kailee, like I don't have any injuries, I'm not I'm saying you're perfect yet. That's what telling me, but so like I'm good, everything's great. So I have you fill out an intake before you come in. It's pretty long, but it's asking like all the questions I've seen in the beginning, like how's your sleep, how's your digestive system, how's your mental health, does your body run warm, cold, like it's asking all the things. I don't think I've ever had somebody that everything has been perfectly perfect. So after doing that entire intake, like even if everything's perfect, like I said, like this is all preventative medicine. Like that's why I went into this because I don't want you to wait until you have a good injury, or I don't want you to wait till you are super sick to go like to start thinking about some of these practices. So that's why I love what I do is because I can treat you as a whole person, like just know like you constitutionally based off of all the questions I asked and the intake that you fill out, how to treat you best. And no two treatments are the same for any person or even just like you individually. Like you could be coming in daily to see me and probably every treatment would be different. There are 300 spots in the body. I diagnose everybody with different Chinese medicine diagnoses. Your body changes. It's the same with the herbs that I prescribe. Like I very rarely will be like, you need to take this herbal supplement for the rest of your life. Like even during like cold season, we have tons of different herbs that will literally change like as your cold changes. So I was like, okay, you have a cough. Is it a dry cough? Is it a wet cough? What kind of phlegm you have? What color is the phlegm? And the herbs and the treatments for that change like as your cold goes on. So it's not just like take this full medicine and come back and see me in a month if it doesn't change. And just the nervous system support that acupuncture can provide will help again for the future. And like that's a full preventative side, like getting you out of like that fight or flight, bringing people back into rest and digest so that you can go live your life at the end, not always being stressed out. I did have one person last week, and it's also very rare, that told me that she doesn't have any anxiety. She was in the 20s and I'm like, really? I never hear that. I'm very happy for her. But that's just not something that I see very often. So, but there's still plenty of things to drink. Even her, since she has no issues. But so, yeah. Yes. Yeah, so microneedling is more of like a facial thing, like for you said microneedling, right? Or dry needling, are you thinking? Dry needling.
Oh, I actually just felt like this. I don't think about instead of this.
Yeah.
Then my.
Yeah. Was it a PT that did it? Yeah, so dry needling is now like the other big thing that especially like a lot of runners and athletes know about. A lot of PTs and chiropractors do dry needling now. So just a few of the differences, like PTs came out. I did a dry needling course too. It was a weekend course where I learned it. Going to school for acupuncture, you need either a master's or a doctorate degree. So it's 3 or more years to do this. And I've had over 900 clinical hours. So I'm just a few differences there. Dry needling is looking at trigger points and very specific spots. So like with your quad, or teaming, where I'm said on your leg, like I'm sure they were needling like right there. And whereas acupuncture, like I've seen, is looking at who you are as a whole person and how can we treat this injury while treating you and working on preventing that from coming back in the future. A lot of times, so dry needling uses the same tools. So they both using acupuncture needles. If you don't know, acupuncture needles, they're solid needles. It's not like what you're getting a blood draw or a vaccine with, which are like the hollow ones. It's about the size of a strand of hair. So they're very small. So I know needles can also be very scary for people. A lot of times you won't feel it. Dry needling, you typically do feel it just because you're looking for more of those muscle jumps. So you're finding like the tight spots in the muscle, the trigger points, and then you go in and you're looking for those muscle jumps in order to release the muscle. So it can be super beneficial for pain, if you're looking for more circulation area. But a lot of times it's very focused to one spot.
So acupuncture that was before. It's different. That is starting.
Yeah. And looking at, so if we want to get really technical, with acupuncture, there's different channels in the body. And with the channels, I think of those as like highways. And if there's a crash anywhere on that highway that goes through your body, there's going to be a lot of change that result that will usually result in pain. So we call stagnation, that equals pain. So if there's a blockage anywhere in your body, that will equal pain, injury, and start to change the dynamic of your body. And so if we look at all of that versus just like finding like a pain spot and just going straight there. And then again, with like the nervous system side, like adrenaline's that's not something that's being addressed with that. So it's like very pain specific. Some people love adrenaline and like it works great for a lot of people. Because again, as runners, a lot of us are super tight, have very like tight muscles, tight fascia. So it's great for releasing that. It's just like a very focused treatment. Does that mean?
Yes. But with acupuncture, like, I don't know how to say this, but like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? Like, or do you just keep moving around? Like, do you feel like, I don't know how to say it, but like I've had it a number of times and you've blocked it. Like, I don't know, like plantar fasciitis.
Yeah.
But is it like a puzzle for you to figure out where it is? Or is it sometimes bodies don't react to the acupuncture? I mean, there's lots of, things that we don't react to, right? And there's all kinds of different ways to treat an injury. But how do we know if acupuncture isn't the treatment that we need for something?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, everyone responds differently to so many different modalities. And that also goes back to like, okay, was it the acupuncture or was it the practitioner? Yeah, not that I'm like dogging on anybody, but I mean, like we're talking about with advocacy, like if one MD isn't helping you, then try somebody else. One PT isn't helping you, does that mean PT isn't good for you? If you go to one surgeon and you're like, I don't like that answer, like, do you say like, now I'm not going to get the surgery? So that's usually like my first thing is like, I highly recommend don't just go one time. Like I think of acupuncture like strength training and like all of these modalities, like it's very hard to go one time to something and then have everything get fixed, right? Like especially if you come to me with the 20-year like chronic back pain and stuff. I would like to think magic, but probably not going to cure your back injury in one treatment. So each one does build off of the last one. But also that being said, like I do feel like some people do respond better. If you don't believe in something that you're going into, like I'm a lot of people that still ask, like, does it actually work? Is it just like a bunch of hocus pocus? And I feel like we're getting better, however, in 2025. But like acupuncture and Chinese medicine didn't even come to the US until like the 80s, the 70s and 80s. So it's still like here, it's still a very relatively new medicine. It's over 2,000 years old. So goes back a lot longer than Western medicine, but here in America, it's different. I worked with a couple of acupuncturists while I was inpatient working as a nurse at Woodward Hospital. And so I would always get to ask patients like, do you want acupuncture? I would get a lot of pushback on that. But I'm like, if you don't think it's going to help you, even though you have a 10 out of 10 stabbing migraine right now, it's the worst thing in your life, and you still don't want to try it, like, don't try it. Like, I mean, do I still think it could work? Yes. But so I feel like that's one part of it. Like I do have people that are like, I mean, very rarely they'll be like, my mom forced me to come in. I really wanting it too. It's like, yes, again, it probably will help, but
Yeah.
you're not going to be as receptive to it. And also to answer your question, like if you had come to me and you came back the next week and you're like, nothing has changed, I'm still the same on me in like the exact same way, then yes, it will continue my treatment to not just seem like the exact same thing. Again, sometimes, yes, it does take multiple treatments, but as I was saying, like each treatment will be different based off of what you're experiencing even just like how you describe the pain to me. Like if you come in with like sharp stabbing pain, I'll treat you differently than if you're like, it's more of like a dull, achy feeling. So that's why I like to choose, like, it's very specific to what you, like, who you are and like what you are experiencing like at the time. And your diagnosis will be different based off of that to how you're describing things.
I did really like it though. Like if you haven't tried it, it took me, I don't know, I think I was there for, I had it for a long time, been suffering for a long time. But I love it because it was one of those injuries that when I went to get treatment, it wasn't like a shock wave therapy that put me through the roof, you know, like it was, I actually took a nap and I was getting treatment and I could calm myself and not be like so tense. I was probably injuring myself during treatment, you know?
Yeah.
So I do think it's, if you haven't tried it, you have something, you should.
Yeah, I mean, they say about 20 minutes. So the needles typically stay in for about 20 to 30 minutes. During that time, you just get to like chill on a table. I have multiple heat lamps, so people say they feel like a wizard, like a bathing in the sun. It's very nice, which I know is weird, like if you're like, how can I relax my needles in my body? But I promise, it is
Don't really
nice.
feel that.
You don't feel it. Like once they're in, it's more for relaxing. And they say about 20 minutes of an acupuncture or needle nap, as I say, is worth about 4 hours of deep sleep.
Wow.
So if you are seeing that's not getting enough sleep that night, go to acupuncture every day. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I treat everyone from Olympians to weekend warriors and just like, but I do see except like have found a lot of benefit. I wouldn't be doing what I didn't do if I didn't obviously believe in it, and have seen lots of great results from my patients and from myself.
Is that the first thing you go to? Is acupuncture?
Like if I have an injury, I do a lot of things. I like kicking in and foot immediately.
Yeah.
So I'll go to say I use the strength trainer and to get specific strength exercises. I do have a PT that I really like. I'll go see them. I get acupuncture, I get chiropractic. I mean, it kind of depends on what I'm experiencing, but I am passionate about like having a team of people to help you. Like I think acupuncture is amazing, but usually I'm not going to be the only one that solves things. And I don't want to be the only one that does everything for you either. Like, yes, I do think it could create a lot of changes, but I do think that if you have a team of people and support, that's when I give you the best results. Because if we're multi-dimensional people and we need more than just one person in our team. And I'm all about referring to people if there's something I can't figure out. I have chiropractors referred to, physical therapists, lots of different resources. Yes.
So, just so we ask you this.
No, silly question.
I'm very happy to know if you put this. Oh, it's not. What is it like? Is it like you're staring there? What flow or what children's that or different things or stuff different?
Yeah, I mean, all of the above, basically what you said, but it's helping with blood flow. It's helping with circulation. It is stimulating your nerve endings. So people think that I'm like actually like putting the needles into nerves. I really try to do everything I can to not hit your nerves. That is painful. It does stimulate the nerves, and a lot of like we have some like we call like heavy hitter acupuncture spots. Not a great word, but what they found now when they look at like MRIs and stuff, like those spots are over like huge nerve bundles. And it's like, oh, like, that makes sense why we use this point so often or why it like actually works so well. It's also releasing a lot of chemicals. It's releasing endorphins, it's releasing serotonin, like all the feel-good hormones. It's helping, it activates the pain receptors, so your nociceptors. So that's why it's really great for pain. It also, like, when they looked at MRIs with the needle in, basically, like, all of your fascia and connective tissue, like, grab on to the needle because it's like, intruder alert, like, invasive thing, and then it all releases. Because I do a lot of, like, upper back and neck pain that either, like, just that or that's, like, leading to, like, headaches, migraines. And that's why it's so beneficial for, like, helping to loosen up those muscles. But yeah, a lot of like, it's coming. Yeah. But yeah, thinking back to like the pathway, like the highway in the body, it's helping us clear the highway so that things can like stay flowing and stay moving. And that's why like movement in general is good too, like because we don't want those blockages in our body, but acupuncture is just another step that can help us with keeping things, properly. Thanks everyone. Love anyway.
Wow, Kaylee, we made it through another episode. What do you think?
We would love if you would go give us a follow, a 5-star review, and comment on the episode and what you liked and what you'd like to see more of.
See you next time.
We get to do this.